All right, today we are starting a new project. We're going to be working in our sketchbook. If you're at home, you can work on a piece of paper. But we're going to be identifying different kinds of shapes and categorizing them by looking at an artist. So before we do that, let's talk about what shape is. Shape is an element of art, like an ingredient of art, and shapes are two-dimensional, they're flat. The categories of shapes that we're going to talk about are geometric and organic. So you can kind of see here that these shapes are divided into two kinds of categories. Geometric shapes are shapes that are precise and regular, like squares, circles, triangles, and rectangles. They usually have names, and they usually are a certain way. So a triangle always has three sides. A circle is always this rounded figure that's even, unlike an oval. A star, this kind of star has 5 points to it. So those are geometric shapes. Organic shapes are shapes that are irregular shapes and often found in nature. So things that look more natural, things that even though it has maybe a name like a leaf, you can identify, but it's considered more of a natural shape. So we're going to be making 2 pages of geometric and organic shapes in our sketchbook. And some of them we can debate if you think it's organic or if it's geometric. So in your sketchbook, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be writing geometric on one side and organic on the other side. You can use pencil, just make sure it's something that that doesn't go through the pages. And you need to be on the next page that is blank on the pages facing each other. So over here, I'm gonna write geometric. And this side, I'm gonna write organic. After you've done that, we're going to look at some artwork by an artist named Matisse. So we're actually going to write Matisse under both of these because what we're going to do is look at the artwork, identify the shapes, and then draw them here. So Matisse is M-A-T-I-S-S-E. Because we are looking at his shapes and then categorizing them. All right, so let's look at this Matisse. In English, the name of it is Beast of the Sea. Now, don't just look at the shapes in the front, but also the shapes that make up the background. Let's talk about what kind of shapes you see. So the first thing you see kind of as the background are some rectangles and squares. So those would fall under geometric. What else do you see that might be geometric? If you said there were some triangles, there are some little triangles. Anything else that's really geometric, something that has a definite shape to it. Let's talk about shapes that maybe don't look quite as geometric, but a little more natural. So there's those kind of white shapes that are top left. They kind of have like a thin to thick kind of swoosh to them. So what I do is a curved line, and then I will go from this point, curve out away from the middle part, and then curve back in. So look thick and then thin. There's also those little kind of black, almost fern looking things. If you see those near the top, there's two of them. There's one on both sides. But it's kind of like a little fern with like these sticky little lines coming out of it. Or it reminds me of like a pine tree. There's like spirals. You want to make your spiral kind of look more like a, so you first do the spiral and then you kind of have to go back around to do the thickness of it. There's some lines that are kind of just like wavy lines that have a thickness to them. So do one side and then the other. And then there's those shapes that are the bottom left. Those are kind of like, they remind me of seaweed. So kind of like the fern, but instead of making sharp points, you kind of go in and out like a little blob. So watch. Kind of start with like a little U, and then you go out and in, out and in. You kind of make them almost like little froggy fingers or something. And it's okay if yours doesn't look like mine. Matisse actually has lots of these little blobs on a lot of different kinds of paintings. I'll show you in a minute. They kind of remind you of coral. All right, let's look at another Matisse. All right, so in this one, you kind of have these already. What else do you see? I'd say stars are pretty geometric. So for these stars, you can do the spikes. So I kind of do one spike there, two spikes kind of coming out like arms, two more at the bottom like that. There's squares and rectangles again. At the top, there's kind of like a half circle or a semicircle. So you do the top of a circle and then cut it off so it's only half of it. We have kind of wavy lines again, kind of these like little blobs, not quite circles. You could draw a little blob that you see there. And that star in the middle, I don't know if I would put it more in geometric or organic, because even though it's a star, it has irregular points. So you can decide which side you want to put it in on. I'm going to show you one more just for fun. Now, this is more of these. So if you have room, you can practice some more of those. Signature kind of coral looking things. And if you identify any other shapes that you can categorize, go ahead and do that now. Now this painting is also by Henri Matisse. It's very different from what I just showed you. This is called the Goldfish, but I want you to look at the shapes and the colors he uses. Still bright colors, still bold shapes. But this was actually done way before he started doing his cutouts. This painting as well is by Henri Matisse, called A Woman with a Hat. This painting marked the start of a movement called Fauvism. But I also want you to just keep thinking about how shape and color are used within this artwork. Like most artists, because of certain either limitations or style changes, his artwork went from the two you saw before to these cutouts that you see here. What we're going to do for this project is we're going to blend both styles into one picture of a goldfish bowl. All right, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing a goldfish bowl on a table together. It's going to be up to you how you're going to layer your background with Henri Matisse inspired shapes. And it's also going to be up to you how you do your goldfish. So make sure your paper is tall, portrait, and then make sure if you're in class with me, you write your name on it. and the letter of your teacher. All right, so the first thing we should do, and remember, draw light until you get it right, is we're going to draw a big cylinder for our goldfish bowl. So in the middle of your paper, let's start by sketching an oval near the top, not too close to the top. From the sides of the oval, draw 2 lines straight down. And because it's a goldfish bowl, I do want you to draw the second oval completely. And remember, once again, do this lightly so that way we can erase later. In the picture, there's also the top of the water and the reflection. So what you're gonna do right under your top oval is draw another oval that goes from one side to the other. So very lightly, you should touch that top oval and then go from one side to the other. Okay, after that, let's draw the rounded table. Actually, you can choose what shape you want your table to be. So you can do a circle table, a square table, but make sure it comes out from the side of your cylinder and curves around to the front. So let's just be different. I'm going to do kind of a triangular table. So I'm going to do, I'm gonna do a square table. So it's gonna kind of look diamondish. You can do a rounded table, but see how it comes out and down, or you could do a rounded table. That's up to you. It's Matisse inspired. It doesn't have to look exactly like the one in the picture. After that, you can put little legs under the table. So you can do legs on the end, or you can do kind of like how they showed in the picture. The angle isn't quite realistic, so it's up to you how you do that. But have them going off the page. Okay, after that, you can go ahead and draw some fish in this area so they can kind of overlap the bottom. And then we're going to draw kind of little blobs for the reflection of the fish on the top. So if you don't want to do just the regular goldfish, you can do any kinds of fish you want. But I'm going to do kind of just basic ovals that have a point. Little fishy eye. And then for my fish, I'm going to do kind of reflective little organic shapes for the reflection that I will paint or color the same later. Okay, before we go any farther, let's take a moment to trace over what we've done already with Sharpie. With the exception of the inside lines of the fish tank. So let me show you what I mean by that. So we can do the outside of it. So do the top oval, the sides, and the bottom edge. And we'll talk about what to do specifically in there in just a moment. So go ahead and outline your table. Like that. All right, the last thing you can outline before we do the next part are the fish themselves, but not any of the reflections. We're going to do the water lines and the reflections when we color in later. But we don't want them to have a hard line because we want it to look reflective, unless like a solid object. Also, your fish aren't see-through, so you can erase the lines inside those fish. You can beef up this line a little bit with pencil if you want to. All right, now what I want you to do is I want you to fill the background with Matisse-inspired shapes. So you can use any of the geometric or organic shapes in the background to create an interesting background. Now I'm going to show you again the picture of how it looks in the actual painting so you can see it, but I don't want you to copy it. Maybe replace things. So I really love these more kind of organic looking seaweed things. So I'm going to use Sharpie. I would like you to use pencil first. But make sure when you go against the see-through part of the glass up here that it actually looks see-through. So let me show you an example. You want to keep the water not see-through, but if I drew a shape behind the glass, I would see it. So let's say I want to do let's just do a leaf, right? I would go through that part of the glass and you would see the leaf. Everything underneath this though, we want to keep not see-through. So just this top part right here. So if I want to do one of these, remember yours does not have to look like mine. I also like to repeat things. So if I use the shape one place, I might use it another place, so it doesn't seem random. You can overlap if you want to, but you do not have to. So maybe just some simple kind of shapes to try to fill the space and try to balance it out. How about some geometric shapes? You could also put some shapes on the table if you'd like to. All right, I feel like I have enough shapes. You can do more shapes if you want to. Next time we'll talk about how we're going to color this in and make our fish look like they are reflecting.